Yo, people. Okay, so I want to talk about the new Public Enemy album. What you gonna do when the grid goes down? Interesting title. They're back on Def Jam as well. Now, Def Jam, Russell Simmons is Illuminati all the way. Think of all the artists on that. Nas, Kanye West, many others. Big mainstream artists. You don't get that big unless you sign up. Def Jam, hanging with Leah Cohen, as they call him. As Mos Def said, a tall Israeli be running this rap shit. This is Leah Cohen. This is Def Jam. This is Russell Simmons. And they have an agenda with it, putting out certain music, negative stereotypes. That's what they like to do. That's what Leah Cohen, a tall Israeli, Israel, Zionist Jew. So, yeah, this album is strange, like, because first I heard about this album a while back, and it was supposedly Nothing Is Quick in the Desert, and I was thinking, well, this was a free album. This was what they told the new album. So I read somewhere this was going to be the new album, and I was thinking, this was a free album they gave away. So what are they even talking about? So it's strange. And so when this comes out, their new album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, it's basically a reworking. The cover is a reworking of their free album, Nothing Is Quick in the Desert. So I'm like, this is all very strange. But none of this stuff they don't do this. The people that run the music industry have an agenda, don't do this for no reason. There's something going on there. So, but comparing, and I'm just looking at them here, comparing at the two, and I'll post them, but comparing on the two albums, they've basically used the electronic stuff on the front cover and put it on, and the only difference I can see is that the candles are different, the speakers are slightly different, the woofers, and there's a crack in their computer in the new one, and there wasn't in the old one. So it's just very strange. Why would you reuse an album that you've already put out? Why would you do that? This doesn't. It's just not. It's never. No one does that. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm sure that's never been done. You just don't reuse your albums covers. You just don't do that. So I'm looking at it, and so the first one's Nothing Quick in the Desert, and this one, What You're Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down. I googled like the desert Texas because I thought, like, I don't know much about a desert in the US, and I googled Texas, and these things popped up. And what that cover is, it's not actually Texas, it's Colorado, but it's I think it's Monument Valley in Colorado, and that's what they've used on the new cover. And the old one just had like sand. So I'm thinking Public Enemy with Def Jam, Chuck D sold out. You know he's playing the game, pushing the Democrat stuff, pushing Biden, even though he's a blatant racist, has always been racist, and is a sex pest. But Chuck D seems fine with that as long as he's anti-Trump. Why? Because Chuck D is working for his masters. So what is the point I'm trying to make with this? Basically, they pre-program. This is how they tell us what is going on. So they have to let us know what they're doing. It's part of the laws of the game. And they've done this many times. Famously, Simpsons 9/11, Family Guy Boston Bomb. But they've also done it for music. So we've got Jeru the Damager album. Love Jeru the Damager, but, and this isn't necessarily the artists that are part of this is they're doing the record labels, and people have their meetings and they say, right, we want this to be the album cover. So I'm not saying Jeru the Damager is part of it, like, but he signed for a label, and they're saying this is the album cover. So and another one, The Coup, another hip hop group, and these both show the Twin Towers exploding. And this is pre-programming. This is what they do. They have to tell us what we do. So unconsciously, we have agreed to what they're doing. So this is what I'm thinking. This is what's going on in this crazy time. What's going on? This is what Public Enemy's doing. Public Enemy are pre-programming people, signed back to Def Jam. Oh, and I noticed that they'd got like their Public Enemy light show put around the world, like on Parliament building, on the Arc de Triomphe in France, and various other buildings. And I'm like, that's some like big stuff. Like, Public Enemy been out of the limelight for a long time, like, you know, and suddenly Chuck and Flav are arguing, and then they get back together, and then suddenly this album comes out, and they're back on Def Jam, and all this is like, you know what I mean? Like they've always been relevant to a point, but they've been under the radar, really, apart from hardcore hip hop people. And suddenly they're being boosted to the mainstream. Suddenly they're relevant again. Apparently there was a poster in Black Panther, Fear for Black Planet. So it's all sort of linking up. But what I believe with this is there's going to be, what you're going to do when the grid goes down. I think that in American City, in the desert, possibly if it's Monument Valley, Colorado, or, you know, Texas or whatever, but I'm predicting that it's, you know, it's going to be wherever's nearest to Monument Valley, Colorado. I've got Texas in my head though, I've got Texas in my head, so I don't know. But anyway, like, I'm predicting that one of these cities is going to go down. And I think that they're on the edge of the Mexico border as well, which is interesting. You know, shut the power down, and suddenly they've got loads of immigrants flooding in. Like, I'm thinking out loud, like, with this now, like, this sort of makes sense. Like, you know, anti-Trump, flood the immigrants in, cause Trump problems. You know, like, this is all before the election. This makes sense. What's Trump? You know, they've already promoted the Black Lives Matter stuff, and they've made that real hard for Trump. Now they're going to bring in, if they shut down on the immigrant, if they shut down the border and let loads of Mexicans immigrants in, because there's no power, like, that's going to be crazy. So, like, yeah, I'm seeing something from this, and yeah, like, as I said about the pre-programming, that's what they do, and that's what they've done. And obviously, when I bought Jay with the Damager album, I love that album, I didn't think nothing of it. And it was later on, you're like, oh my God, he predicted 9/11. Well, he didn't. He was probably told, this is your album cover. He signed to a record label. He does as he's told to a point. This is your album cover. And suddenly he's predicted 9/11 and The Coup and, you know, The Simpsons and Family Guy, because they're all part of it, all these people. So, yeah, this is interesting. I think I mean, I'm not saying that this is definitely going to be happen, but from my educated guess, like, this is what's going to happen. A grid's going to go down in the city, and yeah, like, it makes sense that there's going to be a lot of immigrants coming to try and derail Trump. Anyway, I just thought I'd drop this little video because it's interesting. But Public Enemy, Chuck D, man, as a Public Enemy fan, like, you've seen my other videos, it's upsetting, but, you know, this is all part of life. People disappoint you, people let you down, and you have to deal with it, move on. But, you know, don't have no heroes, people. Peace.